welcome back into another edition of Prime Sports World and a very happy hump day for everybody here at Prime Sports World. I'm, of course, your host, David On Point. Helping right there is my co-host, Mr. T.J. Hopkins. On today's episode of the Prime, we're going to talk about the 2025 NFL Coaching Carousel. You can find us live on YouTube, Facebook, and on the Huddle Sports Network on your Roku-enabled devices. TJ, happy Wednesday, my friend. How are you? It's been a while since me and you did a Wednesday show together.
Because it's usually all fantasy shit. So
yeah, it is. That does happen. Yes. We're here to talk about the coaching carousel. There are currently 6 teams looking for coaches, as there was 7, but obviously the New England Patriots hired Mike Vrabel late last week. I think it was on Friday or Saturday. But let's talk about the vacancies. Let's talk a little bit about the Patriots job as well. New England fired Gerard Mayo after just one full season. Mike Vrabel hired to be his replacement. The New York Jets fired Robert Saleh in the middle of his 3rd season of being the coach of the New York Jets. The Chicago Bears fired Eberflus in the middle of his 3rd season as the coach of the Chicago Bears. The New Orleans Saints fired Dennis Allen. I think it was also in the middle of his 3rd season as well. There in New Orleans, Doug Peterson got fired in Jacksonville on Black Monday. I think it was his 3rd season as well, or 4th. Las Vegas, under the radar, fired Antonio Pierce. I didn't even know he got fired until I had to look it up either when they fired their GM.
It was the next day.
Monday.
Yeah, Black Monday came and went, and then like Tuesday afternoonish, Antonio Pierce got fired.
And then Mike McCarthy and the Dallas Cowboys could not reach agreement on a contract extension, so he is out as the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. So we got 7 coaching openings. Let's just include the New England Patriots one just for this conversation. Let's talk about each job. Let's start with New England. Why didn't Gerard Mayo get fired, and what is there that what's intriguing for a Mike Vrabel to be the head coach of the New England Patriots?
Familiarity. That's the main thing. The New England Patriots, for whatever reason, just don't want to go outside the family. Like they just don't want to do it. For whatever reason, like it's almost like eating vanilla ice cream every day for 20 years, and you're satisfied with that vanilla ice cream, but then the minute someone introduces like sherbet or chocolate, you're just like, no, I'm going to stick with what I know.
And I think the Patriot job as a whole, I mean, you got Drake May there who had showed some flashes in his rookie season. I mean, obviously the defense is still pretty decent. And I think there are building block pieces on this offense that you can kind of build around. And I think it was just an enticing job for Mike Vrabel to, one season out of coaching.
Yeah. And, but what's also not a good look, because like, it's almost like you have to hire someone who knows your temperament, knows how you operate, because when you requested permission to interview Aaron Glenn and he turned you down, like the Lions didn't say no, Aaron Glenn said no. That's a bad look. Like candidates are like, when a candidate turns your job, when the candidate turns basically your job offer down, that is not a good move.
It's not ideal. To the New York Jets, Robert Saleh obviously fired midway through the season. He was the first head coach to be fired during the regular season. He got fired because the Jets were underachieving. But I mean, this is what entices you about this job. What is interesting about the Jets job, if anything?
New York. Like, I'm so serious. Like New York, like you got Aaron. You get to be on the back page of the New York Post. You get to possibly have your face up and down Fifth Avenue. You get to all that good stuff. But like team wise, I don't find anything too enticing
Well, I
about
mean, you still have Sauce Gardner. He's still a top 10-ish defensive player in the NFL. I mean, Brees Hall's a nice young running back,
like
but
that.
the quarterback situation is all up in the air. You don't know if you're going to have your number one wide receiver, number two wide receiver back next season after Garrett Wilson kind of voiced his displeasure, and you don't even know if Aaron Rodgers is going to be the quarterback of this team next year if you accept this job. This is probably I think this might be the worst of the set. All the job openings that are available right now, this is probably
This
the
is probably
weakest.
the worst
This,
one.
this is probably the worst one. We'll get to that point when we get to it. But I just don't think this is a good job. Like Woody Johnson seems very meddlesome as an owner.
Yeah,
Yeah,
especially now because like he wasn't even there, right? Like he served as some kind of uh ambassador to the UK, and he was letting those in charge like kind of run the show, and obviously like the job wasn't getting done. So this is like the Zach Wilson years, and Zach Wilson getting hurt, and then Mike White coming in, and Flacco coming in, and all that carousel. And then Aaron Rodgers comes in, and then he gets hurt his first year. Then you have the fiasco that was this season, and Woody Johnson's just like, no, I'm done. Like, I'm done. Salah, you get out. Nathaniel Hackett, you're gone. All that good stuff. And yeah, in terms of jobs, like bro, like you could argue that we'll get to it that both the Saints and Jacksonville are kind of also not good jobs either for like the same reasons. But this is also why we don't play games on paper. Like the Jets have a damn good roster, too good for them to have
yeah,
the
yeah,
season
yeah.
that they just had,
Yep.
right?
I'll pump a lot of money into this roster for them to
And
be just
like, and
really
then
not good.
really not good. And then like you said, like you run the risk of Garrett Wilson demanding a trade, forcing his way out. Who knows what's going to happen with Sauce Gardner and that good stuff. And like like you said, you got Brees Hall. Yeah, you got Brees Hall and
Braylon Allen.
Braylon Allen as a solid, formidable 1-2 punch in the backfield. And if you're the Jets, kind of like here in Chicago, when we'll get to it, you're almost like, damn, here we go again.
Yeah. Yep. Moving into the Chicago job, Matt Eberflus fired halfway through the season after the Detroit game. First head coach to be hired midseason in Chicago Bears history. Let's talk about the good parts of this job. Caleb Williams, he's talented. There's clearly talent there with Caleb Williams. You have to just build other stuff around him, and this defense still has really good pieces on it. I mean, Jalen Johnson's not walking out that door. I mean, you got Montez Sweat's not walking out that door. Like these guys are going to be here, and they're building block pieces. Yeah, they're like the Bears are really a decent to average offensive line from being a really good football team, and I think that's a really enticing scenario for anybody who wants to take a head coaching job, who's even considering a head coaching job this cycle.
Yeah, and what do you see? Let me think. Yeah, I think they pointed right when the nugget you said about firing midseason. The last time the Bears did that, and it wasn't even a firing. It was a granted leave of absence. I think it's because of like World War II or some shit like that. Like, yeah, motherfuckers had to go serve in the army and shit. Um, it's frustrating because you start the season like you do all the off season moves, and it's like, oh, this is like the best. This is the best situation for a rookie QB ever, and we're expecting different. Like you hire Shane Waldron, and on the premise of like, hey, you got Geno Smith paid. You got Geno Smith. Uh, like if the NFL had a most improved award, he would have won it, or some shit like that. Like you basically resurrected Geno Smith's career, and we're thinking you're gonna come, you know, give this team some offensive firepower because you had the weapons here,
Yep.
right? You absolutely had the weapons here to do it, and you didn't do it. And part of me wants to think Eberflus definitely played a role in that like because when he had Justin Fields and how dynamic he was as an athlete, he limited Justin Fields to this he called it the 220 rule, right? 200 yards, two total touchdowns, zero turnovers. Like how can you limit somebody like that? Like you want 200 yards passing, two total touchdowns, and zero turn. Like you're not gonna win like that. Like that's not a recipe. Like you coach not to lose versus going for the win, and it is what it like. It is what it is. Like me personally, while Eberflus was a problem, just like New York, the problem here is definitely ownership. You got people in charge that don't know what the fuck they're doing,
Yep.
but and like I've never seen this before. Like I ain't never seen a ownership family split down the middle where half wants to sell and the half that's in charge don't want to sell. And I'm just like, bro, why can't the half that wants to sell be the ones in charge?
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Like you
Uh,
got because like you got George McCaskey who got the job on day one and said, I'm not a football guy. Like that's you don't admit that to a football city, bro. Like that's not what you do.
let's move into New Orleans. Dennis Allen also fired midseason. This firing feels like it was long overdue. This team has been in cap purgatory for a little bit. They're not going to get rid of Mickey Loomis. He's still going to be the GM of this football team. He's the one that got him into this cap purgatory. They're going to have to find a way to make this work. Is this a good job? Is this a job? Is this an enticing job? What about this New Orleans job that is like, yeah, that's a building block piece. That's what I like. Alvin Kamara. You still have some decent pieces on this defense, but the quarterback is probably not there. We saw enough out of Spencer Rattler to know he's probably not the answer. What do you think about this job?
I dead ass don't like it. Because like there's no direction. What is the plan at QB? Is it Rattler? Are we gonna take another shot at this? Are we finally gonna move off of Alvin Kamara? Their offensive line is also a problem. I ain't never seen the team have the best. They had the best 2 game start in NFL history. They scored 90 some points in 2 games, and bro, it went downhill from that. Like it was, hey,
Yeah.
they got humble quick, bro.
Derek Carr is aging. He's probably not even worth the contract that they signed him on 2 years ago. And the roster is aging as well.
Hey, he's dumb. And I mean that in like the most respectful way possible. Like, bro, you are already like one of the most injury prone QBs in the league, and then you do shit that gets you injured. Like you're diving forward when you don't have to. Like you do stuff that gets you injured.
I think if you put a list of from the most enticing to least enticing jobs, I guess we'll talk about that when we get to it. Swinging into Jacksonville, Doug Peterson obviously fired after two really disappointing seasons there as the head coach. You take him to the playoffs in his first year as a head coach. You win a playoff game against the Los Angeles Chargers. Then you follow it up with 2 disappointing seasons in a row. But there are some pieces on this roster that I think are interesting. Brian Thomas Jr. showed that he's a big-time wide receiver. You still have Trevor Lawrence. There's still some talent there with Sunshine. You got Josh Allen, whatever he's going by now. I can't remember what it is now. You still have him on the defensive side of the ball. And, he's a good football player, but this offensive line isn't good. You still have Travis Etienne. I kind of like what they got out of take Bigsby this season. You still have Evan Ingram under contract, a pretty good tight end. What do you think about this job? And you have an owner. The Khans have been willing to spend money.
But it's the same reason why the Jets and the Bears are like. It's the same thing that could prevent the Jets and the Bears from being successful. The Khans, while they are willing to spend money, they're not good owners. They are horrible owners. Like it is. They remind me of Prokhorov. Remember when Prokhorov bought the Nets?
Yeah.
And he just made splash move after splash move because that's a big name and I want it here and I want a championship now. That's the Khans, and to be fair to Trevor Lawrence, like he has been kind of beat up the last 2 years, especially the last 2 years with lingering injuries, concussions, all that good stuff. But when healthy, he's also not played good football. I will
Yeah.
say that. Like it's definitely it's definitely two sides to both coins. And again, this they spend money, but they don't get the what you call it. They don't get the big guy like Gabe Davis is a number two. You paid him number one money. Christian Kirk was like a two or a three. You paid him top tier money to come to Jacksonville, and so on and so like your draft picks are what they are. Like again,
Right, I
Aiden
mean,
Hutchinson was right there. You drafted Trayvon Walker. I don't hear a lot from Trayvon Walker when the Jags play. No
me either.
disrespect to
Me
him.
either. I mean, Josh Allen was it Keenan? Is that like what is this? What?
Josh Hines Allen,
Yeah,
Allen,
Hines Allen.
yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Like, yeah, I mean, he's become their best defensive player. And I mean, they taken some swings at the cornerback position. It hasn't really worked out for any of those draft picks. Yeah, this is a team that hasn't drafted well. They haven't spent money well in free agency. I mean, but there is talent on this roster. To the Las Vegas Raiders now. Antonio Pierce fired after his second full season, or I think it might have been his first full season as the head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders. Was very popular when he took over for Josh McDaniels last season. Max Crosby kind of fought for him to keep that job. He gets to coach
Devontae Adams fought for him to keep that job.
he gets to coach one full season there in Las Vegas. It doesn't go well, and he gets fired. But I mean, what did you expect? I mean, he didn't really have the quarterback play. I mean, he had a revolving door quarterback between Gardner Minshew, Aiden O'Connell, and whoever else they were rolling out on a week-to-week basis. And the rest of this roster, I mean, you trade away your best football player in Devontae Adams. You still have Max Crosby, who's injured, who spent a lot of time on IR this season. Like, what do you think about this particular job in Las Vegas? And they will have a top 5 pick, or actually top 6 pick in this upcoming draft.
Also, not unless they trade Max Crosby to get that number one or number two overall pick, they're not going to get the quarterback they want
No, they're not.
in Vegas.
I mean, there are quarterback needy teams that draft before them. I mean, Tennessee, the Giants, both of those teams are taking quarterbacks. Period.
So if everything stands packed, unless Tennessee or the Giants get a deal that they just cannot say no to, Cam Ward or Shadur Sanders will be wearing a Tennessee Titan or New York Giants.
I think there's a real possibility that like if the Vikings, well, we'll talk about this, I guess, in the offseason stuff, but if the Vikings decide to move on from Sam Darnold, he could become the stopgap quarterback for Las Vegas, and they could take somebody either next season or in the second round, like Jackson Dart, the kid from Ole Miss.
Yeah, Jackson Dart could easily be depending on where, like late first, early second round pick. But like you said, like they could also try to trade for JJ McCarthy if the Vikings stay with Sam Darnold, which
I do not think that's going to happen.
it's being talked about. Like it's 100% a possibility.
It's not that I don't think it's a possibility. If I had a crystal ball, I would imagine it won't happen.
It's just,
but I mean, Las Vegas. You also have a kind of a bad omer. I mean, the Davis family. They're also a meddlesome owner. So it seems like a common trend here. We got a bunch of coaching vacancies. They all have meddlesome owners.
They all have meddlesome owners or dumb owners, and this is what. So like, and for the head coaching search, this is what Adam Schefter said. Like this was today. Like this was 8 hours ago. Like if he takes the Raiders job, he's now going to a division where the head coaches are Andy Reid, Sean Payton, and Jim Harbaugh, and the quarterbacks are Mahomes, Knicks, and Justin Herbert. And you're going to a team that you don't have a quarterback, doesn't have a draft pick to go land a quarterback, and has to find a way to somehow get a quarterback. So good luck with that.
Yeah.
Like the Raiders have so much ground. They have a lot of ground to make up, especially in that division. And to me, that is like, so that's what would keep a head coach from going to
Las Vegas.
Especially of like the top tier that they want. Like that's That's scary, and I understand. Tom Brady is flirting with the tampering stuff right now. Like he is flirting because he's doing the Lions Commanders game. Like he's calling that game. Like bro, like and but you're also a part of Vegas ownership. You are like you dead ass cannot talk to anybody because
Uh,
it will be perceived in the absolute worst way. You can't do it.
to the final job offering. This is the one that just opened up earlier this week. Might have been Monday, actually. Dallas Cowboys moving on from Mike McCarthy. You have Dak Prescott in the house, who's still a top 10-ish quarterback in the NFL. You have CeeDee Lamb. You have Micah Parsons. You have a pretty solid defense. It was probably time to move on from Mike McCarthy. Disappointing in the playoffs 3 years in a row, and then just the bottom fell out of them this season, even before the Dak Prescott injury. But what do you think about this Dallas Cowboy job? And I jokingly said to one of my Dallas Cowboy friends, they should just give this job. Jerry Jones should just be the coach of the Dallas Cowboys and just see what happens.
No, seriously, seriously.
Like,
It's like the whole notion of Dion's gonna coach the Cowboys. Like, do y'all really think Jerry Jones is gonna let someone bigger than him have a say? Like, you're when you go to the Dallas Cowboys, you have to understand a lot of things. One, it stops and ends like it starts and ends with Jerry Jones. You virtually have zero say, zero power. You don't even have a final say over the final 53. Jerry Jones drafts or signs a player, he goes to you as the coach and says, make it work. Perfect example. Bill Parcells. Bill Parcells was under Bill Parcells was hired under Jerry Jones. Bill Parcells is a Hall of Famer. Bill Parcells was adamant about not wanting Terrell Owens on his team in his locker room. What does Jerry Jones do? Signs Terrell Owens and says, F you, deal with it. Like,
but with all that being said, there are some really intriguing pieces on this roster. You got to figure out the running back position. This offensive line has kind of been in flux for the last couple seasons, but there's talent on this roster.
it's
And
talent on the roster, but at the same like it's not enticing. It like dealing with Jerry's nonsense and his BS is not an is like the talent on the roster is not it's not enough because like you said, like the offensive line hasn't been good for like 3-4 years now. And that being said, Mike McCarthy still went 12-5 and had his worst year this year, mainly because his quarterback was in and out, and then he was finally out. And then you're asking Cooper Rush to do stuff that he can't do. You lose a game against the Bengals that you had won because then you come out and flatly say like we shouldn't have blocked the punt. Like says who? What coach? Like what? You talk to the team and the media before the head coach does. So like you said, bro, you might as well just be the goddamn head coach.
Yep. Let's talk about best and worst job of these 7 jobs. We'll include the New England job. What do you think is the best of the 7?
That being said, it's still crazy that Chicago is probably the best job out of here. The quarterback situation is set in stone. We know who it is. We know who it is going. We don't know what. Like I know Jacksonville has Trevor Lawrence, but we don't know what that situation is going to be. We don't know what the situation is in Vegas. We don't know what the situation is in New York. And I know New England got Drake May, but hey, we got to see. We have to see a lot more out of Drake May before we put him before we have that confidence in him to be like, hey, you're the guy. Caleb Williams had 3 offensive coordinators and still only got sacked 68 times. I don't know how many times he was hit, and still only threw 6 interceptions. 6.
There was a point in the season where Caleb Williams was flirting with like an NFL record. He wasn't really there, but he had 70 pass attempts before he got to that record.
Like, bro, so this is also how abysmal that the passing stats are here in Chicago. The Bears have been around for 105 years or some shit like that. Caleb Williams had the 13th or 14th time where a Bears quarterback has thrown for over 3,200 yards or some shit like that. just for reference, Drew Brees and Eli Manning did that like 15 times in their entire career. So like, yeah, so like they had more 3,200-yard passing seasons than the Bears do as a franchise. That's just sad. Um,
I will also agree with you. I think the of these seven jobs, I think the Chicago Bears is the best of the seven because they have cornerstone pieces already on the roster. You have a top flight corner. You have a dominant edge rusher. You
yeah,
have the quarterback position set up. You have a very good wide receiver. In DeAndre Swift, I think is still under contract. He's a good
yeah.
running back.
You got to
Like,
figure out Keenan Allen. So like
yeah,
that's
he's probably not going to be back next season. I think he's probably going to be a cap casualty, or he might just walk because I can't remember what his contract situation is.
this is
Um,
1 year, I think.
but well, they traded for him, so I don't remember what his contract is. But they have cornerstone pieces that doesn't exist in any of these other places. The only one that's even remotely close is Jacksonville. But they don't have the cornerback. Like they don't have anybody that's a shutdown corner on their roster. And
And if I had to put a second most desirable, with based on the parameters that you established, Dallas does have that too. Like
yeah,
they got the quarterback in Dak. You got C.D. Lamb. You got Michael Parsons, who you can build your defense around, and you got two really good corners in Deron Bland and Trayvon Diggs. The problem with and again, you're in the state of Texas, no state taxes, but they still get that money out of you some in some way, other
well,
shape, or form.
they get it from you in road games. So
Oh, they gonna get you. Hey, they gonna get their money.
but yeah, I agree. I mean, I agree with you on Dallas. I mean, they have all the cornerstone pieces that is for a good job. But I'm going to go Chicago. Let's talk about that on the other end of the spectrum. Let's talk about the worst of these seven jobs, and why is it the Jets? I mean, it's got to be right. I mean, there's so much uncertainty
It's
with
the Saints.
like no, it's the
It's
Jets
the
job.
Saints.
It's the Jets job.
Okay.
There's so much.
What are the cornerstone pieces in New Orleans? What are they?
I mean, you have D'Amico Ryans, who I think is still a good football player. Not D'Amico Ryans.
The Mario Davis.
Demario Davis. Yeah, thank you. Demario Davis, I think, is still a good football player. I think the wide receiver, if he can ever stay healthy, his name is totally escaping me right now.
Olave.
Chris Olave, yes, thank you very much. I think he's still a good, fantastic football player. I think they have done a decent job of kind of building this offensive line in the draft. They should get Ryan Ramczyk back next season. The only major question mark really is at quarterback. I still think this defense is solid for New Orleans. This Jets job, I think, is a dumpster fire. Like there's so much uncertainty when it comes to Aaron Rodgers. Like, is he going to be back on this football team? Because you have to accept this job before you even know that. So, like, is Aaron Rodgers going to be the quarterback for you, like, next season? And how short is your leash going to be? You know, you have Aaron Rodgers. If it doesn't work out right away, you're going to be out. Is Aaron Rodgers going to get on the Pat McAfee show and put you on the blast? It's the Jets job. It's not close. I hear what you're saying about New Orleans. It's not a great roster. You have like, you're going to have to kill a bunch of players because you can't afford any more of them. Like, they're going to have to be waived. But
And if you're Vegas and like you read what Adam Schefter just said, like you have a lot of ground to make up in your division, just your division. The other divisions are set. Mahomes ain't going nowhere no time soon. Neither is Herbert. Neither is Knicks. And those three teams like made the playoffs. Like Denver has like apparently figured this thing out. They got Sean Payton in, and he righted the ship kind of fast. I still don't like how he did Russell Wilson, but we ain't gonna go down that bridge again. You in Vegas, you have to make especially this draft because I don't think the next good crop of quarterbacks is gonna come into the league until maybe 2026, maybe 27. So like you got a while before the market is the QB draft class is gonna be this good again. I mean, obviously, it's not what it was. It's not what it was last year, but it's not gonna be like to have the quarterbacks in the draft class that we got last year. One is a rare phenomenon, and two, it rarely happens. But at the same so if you're Vegas, you have to you got to make some decisions. Like, hey, is Max Crosby? What's more important, getting that QB or having Max Crosby on your defense?
Yep.
Because if I'm one of those top two teams and you calling for one of those top picks, I'm asking for Max Crosby.
especially if I'm Tennessee. I mean, or
I'm at
I mean, the obvious spot is Cleveland. Like you're like, hey, like Cleveland is probably the place I would try to trade into because I don't think I think Tennessee is going to take a quarterback no matter what. I think the Giants are going to take a quarterback no matter what. You have to be able to jump the Giants.
you got to.
Um, let's go into the crystal ball a little bit here on both the next two questions. Let's talk about if you're just looking into it. Do you think there will be anyone else that gets fired, or do you think they're potentially like a head coach getting traded before the start of next season? Or
Well,
is there anyone you should keep an eye out for?
well, I was curious, it was three coaches that I was curious about getting traded, and it was Mike Tomlin, Shanahan, and Sean McVay. I was very curious as to see if those dudes would get traded, but Mike Tomlin basically said teams trying to trade for a coach, don't waste your time. But that's also kind of the problem in Pittsburgh. You hold on to stuff too long, and I'm not saying Mike Tomlin needs to get fired or deserves to get fired. I'm saying like if Pittsburgh was to say, "Hey, Mike, it's time. We got to go in a different direction," no one should be like surprised or trash the Steelers for doing so.
I mean,
Uh,
they haven't won a playoff game since 2017.
because
Like yeah.
because they because it's what the Steelers do. They held on to Big Ben too long. And the Steelers don't fire coaches. Like Chuck Noll got that job. He had that job till he retired.
They've had like three coaches.
They've had three coaches in their history. Bill Cowher had that job till he retired. Like Chuck Noll didn't get fired. Cowher didn't get fired. So Mike Tom and we said this like we said this time and time again. Like Mike Tomlin is definitely 100% one of those coaches that hey, if I want to leave, I will leave on my own accord. Like he's earned that right. Like, but it's also getting to a point. It's at a point where, hey, the 18 years of not having a losing season, you have to want more than that for yourself. It has to. You have to want.
I mean, the non-losing season thing is a really nice accomplishment, but it hasn't resulted in anything other than just we haven't had a losing season. They haven't done anything in the playoffs
Because
and the Tomlin Super Bowl can drive now. Like that's how long it's been since Mike Tomlin won the Vince Lombardi Trophy, and you made the argument he won that Super Bowl with Bill Cowher's team,
and like the last little remnants of it, yeah. And it's I think it was like Marcus Spears was like usually the Marcus Spears and Stephen A. They was like the Pittsburgh Steelers are like at currently constructed. They're good enough to make the playoffs. They're good enough to they're good enough to do what they just did, make the playoffs, but they're not. No one's ever picking them to upset anybody or make a deep run or so on and so forth. That's where you're at right now.
And I think there are two other names that potentially look out for. And Mike McDaniel there in Miami. I think the dust is settled. I don't think he's going to get fired, but I wouldn't surprise if the conversation was at least had there in that building. And then Zach Taylor for the Cincinnati Bengals. I mean, this is the third season in a row where you kind of got off to that slow start to start the season.
And you got to play catch up.
You just couldn't dig yourself a way out of it. I mean, if you can get a different coach, I think he's done enough to keep that job. Same thing with Mike McDaniel. But I think the buzz around those two guys, especially next season, will be.
But I like it, Kyle Shanahan and Mike McDaniel kind of too. I ain't gonna say the same because like Mike McDaniel, his injury list is obviously not to the level of Kyle Shanahan's. Like Tua get hurt. It's
Jalen Waddle got hurt. I mean, Jalen Ramsey got hurt.
Hey, so like that happens. It's almost like God damn. But then on the flip side, you got on Kyle Shanahan, McCaffrey played 3 games, if that.
Brandon Ayuk tore his ACL earlier in the season. Yeah. I mean, Trent Williams had to deal with his personal stuff, and then he also got hurt. Kadarius Ward, their best corner, dealing with personal life stuff. So, like, yeah, I mean.
And then you got Devondre Campbell, who thought, oh, I'm the starter, and then one of their actual starters comes back and he's just like, no, I'm not playing anymore. Like, you took your ball, he took his ball and went home. And at the same time, it's like Niner fans, y'all got to be frustrated a little bit though, right? Like y'all can't keep. I've said it for the last 3 years. Y'all can't keep having these great rosters and coming up short. Like you had the Rams beat, and they in that NFC Championship, your man's dropped the interception that would have sealed it. Right, I think y'all beat the Bengals in that Super Bowl if y'all go, and then you lost twice. If you've lost twice to the Chiefs, like y'all can't keep having these great
Once
rosters.
they lost to the Philadelphia Eagles in the NFC Championship game in that season. That game where Brock Purdy got 100 in the first quarter,
No,
and then,
the Chiefs first.
oh yeah.
So yeah, like you lost to them twice. Like you can't keep having these great rosters and being like it's either NFC Championship or we missed the playoffs. That's infuriating.
So TJ, let's talk about this a little bit. Moving on from people getting fired, let's go on the other side of the coin. Let's talk about hired.
Okay.
This is going to be rapid fire. Let's just talk about who you think is going to be hired.
Okay.
Looking at your crystal ball, I got a bunch of names on the side there. So if you want to go of any of those, let's talk with New York. Who do you think will be the head coach of the New York Jets when the season starts?
Oh man.
So I think having ties to Aaron Rodgers is important when you come to this conversation, but
I don't want anyone who's associated with Aaron Rodgers stepping foot in this building. Because I like real talk, I wouldn't even play games with Aaron. I'm like, you know what, bro, you're done. We starting all the way over. We got Buddy from Florida State just sitting there. Hopefully he's healthy. We gonna run with him until we figure this shit out. I think
I'm gonna go Todd Monken. I think
I'm gonna go Vance Joseph. I think no. That's no.
I'm gonna go Todd Monken, the Ravens offensive coordinator. I see what he did with Lamar Jackson, that offense, and Derrick Henry. I think he can have a similar impact there in New York. I'll go Todd Monken.
You know what? Yeah, I'm gonna stick with mine. I'm gonna go Vance Joseph. Vance Joseph gets the Jets job.
To the Bears and Chicago, TJ.
I got. I can't pick one, but I have a top three.
No.
I gotta pick one.
Yeah, you gotta pick one.
Uh,
Your crystal ball. Who's gonna be coaching the Bears on the sidelines week 1 in 2025?
Well, to my top three pick anyway. It's to me it's between Ben, Pete Carroll, and McCarthy. If I had to pick between those three, I'm gonna go with the odds. I'm gonna say Ben Johnson.
I'm going Pete Carroll. I think the former head coach of the Seattle Seahawks has won
A
a
lot
Super
of people
Bowl.
actually want that to happen. By the way,
I think Pete Carroll will be the next head coach of the Chicago Bears. The energy that he brings to the building, the fact that he's had this year off to kind of
he's
unwind.
a young 73.
He for sure is 100%. To New Orleans. Who do you got in New Orleans?
I think Aaron Glenn takes the New Orleans job.
I'm going to go Cliff Kingsbury. I think he leaves Washington. I think he gets another coaching job. I also could see Joe Brady taking this job. You know, he was part of that group in LSU when they won the national title with Joe Burrow. I think actually I'm going to change my vote. I'm going to go Joe Brady, Bills offensive coordinator. I think he jumps ships and goes to New Orleans and ends up being their next head coach.
Okay.
To the Jaguars, and who do you got coaching the Jaguars?
The odds on favorite for that job is Cohen, the Buccaneers head offensive coordinator. So I'm gonna go with Liam Cohen. He's literally right down the street. It's also not a name that everyone is quote unquote like hunting after, because when he's not Ben Johnson, he's not Aaron Glenn. I'm really surprised Kellen Moore's name is not in some head coaching searches. That's really surprising to me. So I'm gonna go Liam Cohen.
I'm gonna go. I'm going to go Ben Johnson. I think this is the job that Ben Johnson gets. I think he leaves Detroit. I think he ends up coaching the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think that the opportunity to coach Trevor Lawrence, I think the opportunity to coach Brian Thomas Jr. is too much to pass up. I think he becomes the head coach of the Jaguars.
I kind of see that. It's not. It's out of the division. It's out of the conference.
Yeah. So, from there, we got the Las Vegas Raiders. Who do you think will be the head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders?
God, no.
I'm going to go Aaron Glenn. I think this is the job that Aaron Glenn gets. I think his tough tenacity ends up being like, I think the Lions lose both their coordinators. That's going to happen regardless, I think. But I think Aaron Glenn, the fact that he was able to coach this defense with the losing pieces left and right, and this was still a formidable unit, Aaron Glenn becomes the next coach of the Raiders.
I'm going to go. I don't think Todd Monken leaves. I'm gonna go Brian Flores. I just like Aaron Glenn. I think Brian Flores can establish a culture that's so much needed in Vegas, and that's kind of what makes the Antonio Pierce firing that much more frustrating, because he was trying to do that. Like, he was on his way to doing that, establishing that kind of culture that you need, and then you gave him a bare bones ass roster and was like shocked that it didn't work. And that's also why I like the Pete Carroll hire. And you said Pete Carroll in Chicago, like that's also what he kind of brings. Like, he brings stability,
culture,
and that's absolutely what is needed here. I'm gonna go Flores in Vegas.
To the final one is Dallas. Who do you think will be the Dallas Cowboys head coach? Who do you think will be the next yes man for Jerry Jones?
So, I know he's a free agent, but that doesn't mean he can't come back. He's just not going to come back, because I wouldn't want to come back either after dealing with this bullshit. So if I'm Mike McCarthy, bro, I'll take a whole year off too and then try to come back. If I was because that's the thing, no one on this list seems like, I mean, like out of the names that matter, right? No one seems like the type of guy that's going to like bend to Jerry's will, outside of the guys that's, the Mike Kafkas of the world, just as like, hey, I'm a head coach of the NFL, and
Mike Kafka shouldn't even be like, he has zero chance of.
But that's what I'm saying. Like that's the kind of guy Jerry's listened to. Like, this notion of Deion Sanders to the Cowboys, kill it, stop, because the minute Deion starts getting praise, and it's not Jerry Jones, that's what's going to rub the friction. That's what's going to cause things to go south. And also, Deion has stated time and time again that, bro, like, I can't tell a grown man what to do and what not to do. Like, bro, like, he literally just he literally just established a new set of rules for his Colorado team. Like, bro, they can't wear flip-flops to class no more. Like the little Nike slides or whatever, they can't wear them to class no more. You really finna tell a grown man that's in the NFL that got a mortgage to pay that he can't wear slides? No.
I'm gonna go Kellen Moore. I think Boy Wonder.
You think Boy Wonder goes back?
Yeah, I think so. I think Boy Wonder. I think the hire. He's probably like, when we talking about a guy that we would need to be a quote unquote yes man for Jerry Jones. I think Kellen Moore kind of fits that bill. And he's done a good job with the Eagles as the offensive coordinator. He did a good job as the offensive coordinator for the Chargers. He did a good job for the offensive coordinator of Dallas when he was there. Give me Kellen Moore, next head coach for the Dallas Cowboys.
I'm gonna go. I think they go up the road. I think they get Bobby Slowick. I think that's who they get.
I don't hate that.
I think they get Bobby. I don't think Cliff Kingsbury leaves just to stay in the division. I don't think. I think Cliff Kingsbury is going to get this offensive coordinator role a larger look before he becomes a head coach again.
He'd be the other guy that I would try. He'd be the other guy. I think they stay within the division.
Now, once again, like if someone goes to Dallas, and because again, I think what was pointed out was most of the coaches that become Cowboy coaches, like the yes men that you talk about, their contracts are super incentive based. Win 10 games, you get this much. Win 12 games, you get this much. Make the playoffs, win the division, win the playoff game, NFC Championship, Super Bowl, you get X. You make your money up, right? All the coaches that we name, I'm not playing, especially Dion. I'm not playing. I want my money guaranteed. I'm not playing on no incentive based nothing.
But yeah, that's been our 2025 NFL Coaching Carousel. Hopefully you enjoyed our show. This has been Prime Sports World. Please like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. We are on YouTube, Facebook, and on the Huddle Sports Network on your Roku-enabled devices. I'm your coach, your host, David On Point Huffman. Right there, my co-host, Mr. T.J. Hopkins.
I also think, before we get back, I also think what's surprising is, like, normally you get one or two college coaches that's thrown out there. Like you get like a Lincoln. I mean, like I think it's one now. I think like the Bears have interviewed, like they tried to interview Marcus Freeman from Notre Dame. But if I'm him, I'm like I'm good where I'm at. But like normally you get a Lincoln Riley or someone like that's name in the mix, and you ain't really heard that this year. It's 9:01 p.m. Minnesota Golden State are on TV. It's 2:35 in the first quarter, and Golden State's winning 29-10. It was 23-5 like 2 minutes ago.
But yeah, thank you very much for checking us out here at Prime Sports World. And TJ, what do we do here at the Prime, my friend?
We bring the heat, and we seriously need it.
It's gonna be a straight balmy 30 degrees tomorrow, man. I'm wearing my shorts.
It's funny how in one day you was like, "Yep, I'm never wearing shorts again." So, that 34 degrees is gonna be love, bro. But man,
that 30 degrees is gonna be hit different tomorrow, man. Let me tell you.
And then Sunday, I suggest y'all do what y'all got to do over the weekend, because Sunday.
Man, Monday, it's going to be in the single digits for like air temperature. That doesn't even include what the wind chill is going to be like. So if you got to go out this weekend, stay warm. All have a good weekend. Stay safe out there. We'll see you guys later. And now for a quick message from our sponsor, the Huddle Sports Network. Y'all have a good night. Stay safe. Peace out, TJ.
I'll let you.
Welcome to the Huddle Sports Network, where we're breaking boundaries and redefining podcasting. Broadcasting live on 6 different platforms, we're bringing you the latest in sports like never before. Imagine tuning into real-time discussions, expert analyses, and fan interactions all at your fingertips. Each platform offers a unique experience, whether you're on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitch. We're not just sharing stories, we're creating a community of passionate sports enthusiasts. Join us as we dive deep into the evolution of podcasting, where every episode is a chance to engage, debate, and celebrate the world of sports. This is where your voice matters and the game never stops. Welcome to the Huddle Sports Network, where we're breaking boundaries and redefining podcasting. Broadcasting live on 6 different platforms, we're bringing you the latest in sports like never before, where sports passion meets podcasting brilliance. I'm Mike, the Bear fan, and alongside Bill, the Packer fan, and our buddy Ken Catalone, we're bringing you an incredible lineup of 38 diverse podcasters. Each one brings their unique flavor to the table, covering everything from game analysis to behind-the-scenes stories. Imagine diving deep into the minds of experts who live and breathe football, sharing insights that you won't find anywhere else.